These massive tax cuts will be rocket fuel. Little rocket, man. Rocket fuel for the American economy.
He loved saying those words. But that was Trump back in 2017 touting the so-called Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. You know, the only thing he actually accomplished in his 4 years, which didn't help working families. But, you know, aside from being the first president to be twice impeached, we have to let him retain that honor. Now, let's check in a little bit on what the effects of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act have been, given that it was a naked attempt to funnel money to the rich, evidenced by inclusions in the bill like this. Trump tax law created jobs for Wall Street to buy private jets. Two parts of the 2017 law can help avoid tax on carried interest. Trump vowed in campaign to get hedge fund guys to pay more, which is awesome because, you know, every American who's struggling to make ends meet, their primary concern is, how can I avoid paying taxes on my private jet? But this was a huge boom for the super rich, and Common Dreams, as they usually do, did an excellent job reporting on it. They wrote, using Forbes wealth data, the progressive advocacy group Americans for Tax Fairness calculated that the combined wealth of the nation's 748 billionaires exceeded 5 trillion this month, up 77%, or 2.2 trillion since the Tax Cut and Jobs Act took effect in 2017. ATF notes that under current US law, more of the boon billionaires have seen over the past 6 years won't be taxed, given that much of their wealth is held in stock. So let's talk about individual billionaires. Let's start with Jeff Bezos, who's up 96.7%. Zuckerberg is up 49.1%, and Elon Musk is up 1,222%. So we have good news here and we have bad news. The good news is that these are supposed to expire in 2025. The bad news is that Republicans don't want them to. They're fighting to make them permanent. Now, here's a screenshot from a press release from Congressman Vern Buchanan, who notes that his legislation to make the tax cuts permanent had 72 GOP co-sponsors. So it says Buchanan, more than 70 colleagues introduced legislation to make Republican tax cuts permanent because, you know, these people who are constantly talking about how bad the economy is for workers, it's really important that we make sure that the economy stays bad for them, but it gets better for the uber wealthy. Brett, I mean, what is there to say? They did what they were supposed to do. This is exactly what the intention behind it was. We all knew that this was tax breaks for the rich and it wasn't going to help the working people. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened.
Yeah, it's this is pretty much the only thing that Republicans in power care about. For all their talk about like the issues of social justice and anything like that, this is really the only thing that they make sure that they pass. And it doesn't benefit America. There's a Brookings Institute did a study, and it you know, you guys have a graphic for it, which is that, yeah, there was a giant tax revenue shortfall. And for all these folks on the right wing who say that, listen, America is wildly in debt and we always run these huge deficits. Well, if you don't collect the tax money according to your economic model, then you have a larger deficit and you guys can't agree in your own caucus what to cut. So you're not solving the problem on the other end either. It's just it's a nightmare for the working class. And you just need to look at the scoreboard. Like, really, it has taken traditionally since Reagan just flipped the switch and was like, let's get rid of all the taxes. Let's incentivize, let's become a corporatist culture. Ever since then, you've seen this widening gap between the rich and the poor. And that's not functional for a society. I'm not saying that you need to take all the money from the rich and give it to the poor. And I don't really think most people who are reasonable are saying that. They're just looking at the direction that America's going. It's harder for people without money to get money. Don't you want people in the lower classes to become upper middle classes? You should want that. And this system that the Republicans themselves are advocating for makes that so much more difficult because it just makes the working class life in America that much harder. And all these incentives on the other side, they're also really, everybody's still kind of in power, globalizing the economy and shipping jobs overseas. That's overseas. That's what this kind of model wants. And when it comes down to it, that's the only legislative agenda that the Republicans actually enact.
But there's no need to worry, Brett, because they're also going to cut Social Security and Medicare. So it's all gonna end up okay for the little guy at the end of the day.
So bad.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/thedamagereport. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.